Hi there, I'm Sarah Cunnington. Welcome to Drawn from the Word. Today I'm talking about something that we don't always like to admit to. It's when our faith falters. And I'll be looking at the passage in Mark 9, where the father of a young boy who was suffering from terrible seizures brought his son to Jesus to be healed. If you've ever been confronted by a similar situation, you'll know how much this challenges our faith, just as it challenged the disciples when they found themselves powerless to help the boy. So let's read the passage in Mark 9, starting with the words of the boy's father to Jesus. "But if you can do anything, take pity on us and help us." "If you can," said Jesus, "everything is possible for one who believes." Immediately, the boy's father exclaimed, "I do believe. Help me overcome my unbelief." Immediately the boy's father exclaimed, "I do believe. Help me overcome my unbelief." The verses above contain one of the most heartfelt pleas to be found in the Bible, made by the father of that epileptic, demon-possessed boy. The seizures would come upon him suddenly with devastating effect, and the damage caused was cumulative and catastrophic. His father was desperate. His heart was breaking. So the man came looking for Jesus, his last hope, only to find that Jesus was not there. Instead, 9 of his disciples were hanging around like spare parts. Meanwhile, Peter, James, and John were up on the top of the mountain with the Lord, witnessing the glory of Jesus' transfiguration. When the distraught father and son arrived at the foot of the mountain, the disciples must have thought, "We can deal with this, no problem." After all, it wasn't so long ago that they'd returned from a triumphant evangelistic crusade. Mark 6 tells us how Jesus had sent the disciples out 2 by 2, having given them authority over evil spirits. They preached and prayed and seen many healed and delivered. However, this time, when they rebuked the spirit as before, nothing happened, nothing at all. When Jesus returned, followed by Peter, James, and John, you can imagine how the other disciples must have hung their heads as the boy's father described their failure. No doubt they were surprised and rather relieved that Jesus did not immediately rebuke them. Instead, he turned to the growing crowd and denounced them as a faithless and perverse generation seeking signs and wonders, but not seeking God. Next, he focused on the boy's father and on his belief. The man admitted his faith was minimal, and yet he had enough faith to make the journey to find Jesus. Would this yo-yoing mixture of faith, hope, and fear be enough? "I believe," he said, and then suddenly fearful again, he begged, "Help me overcome my unbelief." When our own faith fails or falters, we must do what this father did. He dared to believe. And even though his faith seemed to be pretty tattered, he pinned every last shred of it on Jesus. And Jesus did not fail him. The Lord rebuked the demon, and the boy was cured from that hour. When we are at the end of our own resources, the utter end, and we dare to believe, he won't fail us either. Later, in private, Jesus rebuked the disciples for their unbelief. Were they relying on their past success rather than relying on God? Perhaps. Were they miffed at being left behind at the foot of the mountain? Maybe. But then Jesus showed them what is needed: prayer and sometimes fasting, time alone with God, and a deep hunger for Him and Him alone. A relationship of total trust and obedience to His will, like the relationship that Jesus had with His Father. This is real faith. I say to you, if you have faith as a mustard seed, as small as a mustard seed, as small as a mustard seed, you will say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it will move, and nothing will be impossible for you. Thank you for listening. I hope you'll join me again next Friday, and in the meantime, be blessed and trust in God. Have faith in Him. Bye-bye.